G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here, with yet another clip in the series of me just trying to defend myself against the various claims from people who say that they think, according to what they reckon they know, that it's not possible for me to save as much fuel as I have recorded my car to be saving. Now, when you tell me that my fuel burn figures are wishful thinking, Hatomariff, what you are saying is, you, Warbles on a lot, are a bullshit artist, you are psychotic, you are delusional, you are making it up as you go along, you're indulging in an 11-year-long process of fudging your figures in order to boost your fucking ego on the internet. That's what you are implying, Hatomariff. And I don't see that as being anything less than a scathing, miserable attack. So you're lucky I'm talking to you in a friendly state at all. The big governor, you're in the same fucking situation. Oh, I've got this piece of figuring which tells me that the full output 24 hours a day of a 30-watt panel is not equal to 1 litre of fuel. Who the fuck said it was? I'm not comparing the energy release of a litre of fuel with the energy release of a solar panel. What I'm saying is the motor car's only bloody 2.5 or 3.5% efficient at using the fuel. And I'm applying the solar energy, power, juice, electricity, I'm applying that to the battery. And it's the battery which has the power to suck on the alternator. It's the alternator which has the power to suck on the drive belt. It's the drive belt which has the power to suck on the crankshaft. It's the crankshaft which has the power to fucking resist the piston. And it's the piston which has the ability to burn the bloody petrol inside the cylinder. Alright? That's what I'm saying. You claim, the big governor, that when I talk about going up a hill faster, that's mere anecdote and it's got nothing to do with science. Yeah, okay, well I was fairly aware that I would run up against that sort of thing. People who say, oh, who's this fucking fruitcake sitting up there on a hill saying this, that or the other? How can we believe him? So I've filmed 19 other facets of my life apart from SunFoils, and I've got 19 playlists. Alright? They don't show on my channel page apparently because somebody's turned the functions or some fucking button off. I don't know. It's over a year since I looked at my site on a computer. You know, the day my daughter set it up. I work off the mobile phone. I can see my playlists. Apparently nobody else can. But I really don't know. I don't know how to establish my credibility to your satisfaction. I'm telling you that I'm not lying. Perhaps you should search Warbles on a lot critiques the tickety-boo-boos howling, antinatalist howlings. Right? It's a 15-minute clip where I let myself get angry with a YouTuber who lives in the Philippines. I'd made a 15-minute or 12-minute movie and she'd made 3 45-minute movies dumping buckets on me, and on the comment thread she deleted one of my comments and then she told lies about my daughter and I got really steamed up. So I went at her with potlatch. She's an antinatalist and the antinatalists reckon they have a patent on suffering. They know all about suffering. Anybody who says that antinatalism's not to their liking obviously doesn't know about suffering, according to the antinatalists. So I let her have it, mate. And you want a bit of an insight into what goes on in my head, you know, behind this thing I dangle in front of me brain? Go and search Warbles on a lot critiques the tickety-boo-boos antinatalist howlings, and you'll get a bit of an idea of just how civil and friendly and polite I am being to you, even when I say, fuck off! That's very civil and polite for me. To somebody who's been basically behaving like a fucking burr under a horse's saddle. If you want to prove that I'm wrong, don't tell me a textbook figure. Go and do the experiment. How fucking hard is it? You reckon you design electronic gear for a living? Good on you. Great. But you don't do anything on a fucking interface artifact like a solar panel on a car battery, do you? No. This is a new idea to you. This is something you haven't tried. And you think you're helping me by telling me what a deluded wishful thinking. Now, when I made the movie last night, I was pretty pissed as well as being pissed off. I don't know whether I told the full story of Karl Kruszelnicki's stat of 1 isolation switch. Karl fitted an isolation switch between his panel and his car. He got a service station attendant or a family member or somebody to flip a coin as a randomness generator and alter the switch according to the coin toss, regardless of the switch's previous position. The switch was in a position where Karl couldn't see it. The diary with the switch positions marked was also in a position where Karl couldn't see it. And his theory was that he was going to be able to correlate whether there was any fuel burn difference with the panel on and with the panel off. It took me 2 or 3 days after he told me about this before the light went on in my head, which was that it took, I think it was 3 months before my fuel burn stopped improving, gradually and slowly with the little 5 watt Mark 1 panel on. The Mark 3 panel sort of does its business a bit quicker than that. But my impression is that Karl Kruszelnicki, if his switch was connected to his battery, which I don't believe it ever was. You know, he went on radio 30 years ago saying he couldn't understand why there was no difference in his figures, because if that was correct, then he must have been destroying energy, which the laws of thermodynamics say you can't do. Well, I reckon if you've got a battery that's, say, been living at 20 to 30% flat for the last 6 months or a year, and you come up to that battery and you connect it to a solar array for 3 days, and then you switch it off for 3 days, and then you switch it back on for 3 days, and then you switch it back off for a week, and then you switch it on for 3 days, and you switch it off for a week, according to your random coin toss, that's going to have about the same effect on the battery as it would if you went into a concentration camp. Now, I don't give a fuck whether it's in North Korea or Germany or the Soviet gulag, and all of those places where they overwork people on a lousy diet. If you go up to one of those people and give them an extra half a slice of bread with their porridge in the morning for 3 days, and then put them back on the normal diet and keep them in the overworked regime, and your occasional supplementary feeding is not going to have much of an effect on their health. But if you give them 2 bowls of porridge for breakfast, an extra slice of bread at lunchtime, and you dip to the bottom of the soup bucket so they get a bowl full of vegetables at night time, and you organise that they get to work inside so they're not fighting the cold, laying bricks in the snow all fucking day, then yeah, they actually slowly, gradually put on weight, they improve body condition and muscle strength, and they stop wasting away. Well, that's what having a solar panel connected to your car battery does for the car battery. It stops the battery from starving and getting to a point where it can suck on the alternator. Now, that's my explanation for why I noticed an increase in the torque. And telling me that that's an anecdote and therefore it doesn't fucking matter, well, that's a lovely rationalisation which props up your denial. Okay, I honestly believe you guys are having a psychological reaction to the sunfoil. You don't want it to be true, because if it's true it means that A, you were too dumb to think of it, B, how much fuel have you wasted burning it in your engine in a never-ending failing attempt to recharge your battery? Okay, how much? I figure I've wasted a tonne of petrol. A tonne of petrol. Since I got my licence when I was 17, when there were solar panels available, I'd seen Bert Rutan's Very Easy with a solar panel on it, and I just didn't bloody click onto it. When I was 21 and I heard Karl Kruszelnicki say it didn't work, I accepted his story. When I decided to put a solar panel on the car despite Karl Kruszelnicki, I wasn't doing it to try and save fuel, I was doing it to try and save the battery. because I live on lead-acid batteries that have had a hard life. I know that if you keep a battery fully charged, it lives a lot longer than if you keep it 35% discharged. If you want to kill a battery fast, make it live on a starvation diet, part discharged, and then thump charge it. Give it really high charging rates for very short periods of time. It's a great way to kill a battery. So I was trying to save my battery, not to save fuel. I realised there would be an effect on the fuel burn, so I monitored it very, very closely. I was really surprised at how much of an effect it was. I was really surprised at the torque feedback through the throttle, being able to go up a hill at 40 kilometres an hour in top gear instead of needing third gear. So I could do it at 1000 RPM instead of needing 2000 RPM to go up the hill. I can also drive up the main street of Glen Innes at 30 kilometres an hour in top gear without kangaroo hopping in, 900 revs, 850 revs or something, because there is enough torque at idle to push the car around if the flat battery is not sucking on the alternator. Now there's no voodoo about it. It's just you guys are not getting your head around the cumulative inefficiency of a motor car making electricity. It's a new idea to you. Now, I'm sorry it hurts your head, but I'm not a bullshit artist. It's not wishful thinking. I'm not deluding myself. I'm merely sharing an idea that works. In fact, comparing me to the HHO brigade, it's a bit of an insult, but, go and have a look at the clip description. Have a look at the clip thread under Hodgie's hydrogen burning Subaru 4-wheel drive. What I've suggested the HHO brigade try is put 2 SunFoils on their car. One SunFoil for the engine's battery, the one that's connected to the headlights and the stereo, and the engine management computer and all the other electric shit they got in the car. Heated steering wheel covers, 7-way adjustable seats, and have the other solar panel running their hydrogen generator. I've also, taking Knowledge Monger's suggestion, passed it on to the HHO brigade and suggested that they have 6 2-volt electrolysis units instead of having one at 14 volts, because the ideal voltage for electrolysing hydrogen and oxygen out of water is 2 volts. So they can make their electrolysis unit vastly more efficient by having 6 of them in series and running them off a separate battery with a low voltage cutout and a crankshaft movement sensor. And that's so that if you've got your ignition on and the engine's not turning, the HHO unit does not become a hydrogen blevy under the bonnet. You've got to have a crankshaft movement sensor. But if you've got a solar panel filling up your spare battery, so that next time you turn the engine on, the spare battery feeds the electrolysis unit, and the electrolysis unit puts a little bit of Brown's gas into the inlet manifold, then according to Knowledge Monger, the oxygen and the hydrogen going into the inlet manifold will raise the burn temperature and improve the burn chemistry, and you're going to get a more efficient use of the internal combustion engine. Okay? And while we're on the subject of the efficiency of internal combustion engine, the big governor, you've been talking about internal combustion engines only being 10 to 20% efficient and the marvellous efficiencies of plug-in all-electric cars. Well, plug-in all-electric cars are only cost-effective because a tonne of coal is so fucking cheap. $115, $150 for a tonne of coal to put through your power station to make the electricity to charge your car up, right? What does a tonne of petrol cost, and how far does that push your car? That sort of blows your efficiency figures out of the weeds a bit, because your electric car is actually a fucking steam engine. Right? The steam engine's back at the power plant, isn't it? Burn the coal, boil the water, blow the steam onto the windmill, spin a wheel covered in magnets, excite the bloody electrons in the wire. Yeah, your electric car's a fucking steam engine, mate. And here's a heat flow energy chart for a Rolls-Royce Merlin, 1,600 horsepower. 5,410 horsepower of fuel goes in, 1,600 horsepower comes out. That's 29.6%, 51% wasted in the exhaust.